Hey VC, Big Star 1000, that's me. Well, at least that's my screen name. We'll go with that. For another installment of Revolutions number, you can read yourself. It's going to appear now. There you go. The magic of putting text on the screen, never fades away really. Um, I have some recent spins to show you on some records that I've played over the past weekend. So I get going. Well, I'm still worried about that. Enough is enough is enough. I hope some people didn't misunderstand. Sorry, my short, albeit nonsensical video of me shouting at the screen. But I'm just afraid some people might not understand quite what I was doing there. But, you know, stop fucking talking about it, people. Yeah, you want to buy records? Buy records. You don't want to buy records? Don't buy records. You know, you wanna have 10 copies of Pink Floyd of the same record? Well, have you 10 copies? That's fine. That means that there'll be more copies for me of rare shit that I want. Uh, that's okay. I'm prepared to live with someone who has 10 copies of, Dark Side of the Moon. Have them. Um, you know what I mean? I'm with Battery on that one, and in fact, yes, it was um, recently that semi-recently that I was having a chat with James and saying, I don't keep things in my collection that have no musical value to me. I just sell them. It's just the way it is. Anyway, um, it's enough of that topic now. So here I've got 20 records that I've played recently, and they're in the order that I played them because that's how I left them next to my shelf. Some of them are pre-work spins, so before I go to work, I'll play a record if I can. Most of the time I do, which is nice. Start in the morning with you play a record, and so last week, one such occasion. I can't remember which day it was, but I pulled out my copy of Accade by Arawak. This is an Italian library record, very funky, very sort of jazzy, funky, typical Italian library joints. Very, very cool. One of the highlights of Italian library music. And if you've been watching this channel, you know what library music is. I mean, I don't need to do an expose on it. It was reissued by Golden Pavilion and Light Asiatic because an original of this is just damn near impossible to get. Very highly recommended. Very nice record. And then in the evening that same day, I pulled out my copy of El Corazon by Don Cherry and Ed Blackwell, which is an ECM 1982, I think. Yeah, recording featuring, the two guys there, just them, and Don Cherry playing trumpet, organ, and piano melodica, and Ed Blackwell on drum. Very, very nice record again. I mean, not the must-have ECM if you're gonna choose this label, but it's just really solid, really, really, really good record, excellent record. And then I think the same day again I would have played this this classic Brazilian Tropicalia record, Os Mutantes or Mutantes, Divina Comedia ao Ando Meio Desligado, which means I walk disjointed. Brazilian and Portuguese people, correct me please if I'm wrong. This was the very, very first Brazilian album, because at the time when I bought it, it was a CD that I ever got. So it would have been in the early 2000s, maybe 2001 or 2002. I got a CD reissue of this after reading an extensive article in Mojo about Os Mutantes. No idea. And that's what started me on the Brazilian record journey, that I'm still buying Brazilian records every month. Love them. And this is a fantastic album. If you've never heard of Brazilian music or Mutantes, I would start with this. This is my favorite Mutantes album. Title track is great. Ave Lucifer is great. A Babe, A Boy, sorry, is great. I mean, they're all great songs. Just top notch. 1970. Rita Lee, the singer, managed to sound like Janis Joplin in parts, but sort of a Brazilian flavored Janis Joplin. And this also was a pre-work spin. I've got the feeling. I pulled that one morning before going to work. Nectar, Journey to the Center of the Eye. This is an original on Bellephone, I think, Bacillus Bellephone. Sort of loosely classified as crat rock, but not at all crat rock. More kind of a psychedelic progressive combo. Bear more in relation. They've got more in relation with Led Zeppelin or a band like that than they have with Can. But still a really nice album. I'm not a fan of the vocals on it. I have to say the vocals are sort of, I find them hit and miss, but it's otherwise a good album that I scored in my local record shop a few years back. Still happy to have it. It's probably the best effort, really. 1971. If you're into heavy prog, things like Deep Purple, Zeppelin, Sabbath, and other more sort of psychedelic things like Captain Beyond, this may be your thing. It's not a bad album. Here is a killer library record from France. Again, like Arawak that I showed before, a reissue, but only because it's just impossible to get otherwise. It's called La Formule du Baron, and this is by a producer, a very influential producer called Bernard Estardi. Bernard Estardi produced a lot of really dope French music, including albums by Nino Ferrer, who I've talked about recently, and plays a lot of different instruments. This is top-notch record. I've shown this before quite a few times. Bernard Estardi, kind of like I don't know, kind of like a David Axelrod of sorts, if you like, or a Lalo Schifrin of sorts, to give you a sort of an idea, to place him in context, basically. Okay, moving on. A good segue, because I was talking about David Axelrod. Here is a fantastic David Axelrod produced record, the Electric Prunes, Mass in F minor, which is a stunning sort of psychedelic Mass in Latin, brilliant. And the brilliance comes from David Axelrod, because he produces this, and it's just impeccable. It's very, very high quality record. I very highly recommend this. Mass in F minor, Electric Prune, sort of kind of a psychedelic mass, if you like. Really dynamic and very, very good. I mean, you won't get a better Electric Prunes record than this. Even Underground, which I know well, that it's not as good as this. On a totally different plane of existence, here is a collection of top-notch classical music. It's the soundtrack for the 2001 Space Odyssey. The reason I pull this out is because I was on a website and I was reading an article about sort of avant-garde classical music, which was making a reference to one of the tracks from here. and so I wanted to hear it. So I played the whole damn thing. It's great. I mean, it starts with, you know, Strauss, Also sprach Zarathustra. Monster track, really. If you haven't seen the movie or heard this, do yourself a favor. Do something about it. And, well, if you link things a little bit, segue things a little bit from a movie soundtrack to sort of another movie soundtrack, it was Yann Tiersen. Yann Tiersen is a French composer. That's his name here. He composed the soundtrack of French classics such as Amélie, which is a very well-known French movie. Sorry, I'm moving stuff there. The light is not really working for me there. And also Goodbye Lenin and lots of other albums. And this is really beautiful, sort of modern classical music meets sort of, it's got a very French aesthetic about it. Just maybe listen to the title track, The Waltz of Monsters. La Valse des Monstres means the Waltz of Monsters. Just maybe sample this and that might be your thing. It is definitely my thing. I really love. It's kind of whimsical and quirky, and you know, it's certainly not for everyone, but it's a beautiful sort of whimsical record. You know, if whimsical is your thing, then go for it. Okay, I will continue and to fetch the pile at my feet. Okay, so in the last installment of Revolutions, I was really talking up this wonderful CTI album, Randy Weston, Blue Moses, and here's another CTI that I really, really like. This is Mel Jackson's Olinga. This is a jazz funk vibes record, just really dynamic and really just so excellent, and that would make my top 10 CTI for sure. I was discussing with Rob Penix the idea of doing a Gimme 10 on CTI. Perhaps I might do this late this week, and this would really sort of heavily feature on this really beautiful records: Cedar Walton, Ron Carter, Jimmy Heath, and obviously the great Mel Jackson from the Modern Jazz Quartet, which you may or may not like, but this is nothing like the Modern Jazz Quartet. I think this is from 1974 from memory. Well, following up with another really exciting jazz record, which has been shown in the VC many times, I think, but still so worth revisiting every now and then, is B.I. Benjamin with Doll Brand, African Songbird, one of the most amazing, deep, spiritual jazz records that you ever hear. Just stunning electric piano. Her vocals are just off the chart. B.I. Benjamin, who was the wife of Doll Brand, Abdullah Ibrahim, as he's also known, South African genius. And I can only recommend this. I mean, out of all the records that I've shown you here, probably the one that I would recommend to you the most. Fantastic. This weekend, I think the following records from now on, they're all from the weekend. I've got the impression, yes, they are. The weekend, I pulled out this top-notch Australian jazz funk rarity. You could call it a rarity because you don't see it anywhere. The Cole Nolan Soul Syndicate live at Jason's, featuring the track What's the Use, which is just a classic jazz funk record. At Cole Nolan on Hammond and Fender Rhodes, and the band that you can see there, just really funky, and it's a soul record as well. Quite difficult to get. 1973 or 4 or 2 around the time. Really fantastic record on a label called avant-garde, top-notch stuff. Yes. Okay. Last week in the mail, I received this this issue of Wax Poetics. I am a subscriber, have been for quite a few years, and this month they've chosen to feature this band Ratatats, instrumental band, but most importantly Giorgio Moroder. And whilst reading the article, I just got inspired to pull out a couple of Moroder classics, which I love both of these records. It's just really top notch. Really, Love to Love You Baby from 1975, recorded in Germany indeed, and Remember Yesterday from a bit later, I think 1977. It's more this one's more disco. The other one, I think it's a later album. Both of which I think are very fine electronic soul records. I hate to call them disco because they're not really disco records. They're more, when I listen to this, there's an aspect of soul music that's very strong in there. And I was reading in the article that he got in contact with Donna Summer because she was living in Germany at the time, and they were looking for a singer who didn't have a German accent, and she was one of the only available session singers. And that's how they became partners. Really, this is a top notch album. Really good. Highly recommended. Trying to get to sort of odd bits of my collection. I always try to pull out things that are, that I haven't played for a while or that I want to hear again. One such piece is this Luther Grovner record, Under Open Skies, which came out on Island Records in and around the early 70s. Luther Grovner was a guitar player, I think, in Spooky Tooth, British band, so dealing with blues rock, heavy psych, a little prog as well at times. And this is a solo record which I nabbed on eBay a few years back for next to nothing, and I sort of always kept it. I played it not today. I played it at the weekend, and I really enjoyed it. It was good. It was good fun to listen to, and not anything absolutely mind blowing. Maybe one of those records that if I need to make more space, it might need to go eventually, but. At the moment, it's cool. I was talking about Bea Benjamin just before, and also got me to play this other Matsuri music gem, Nico, Sheva, and the Natives. Top spiritual jazz record from South Africa, recorded in New York, I think, or in America somewhere, but African. Came out last year on Matsuri. No, this year, 2015. Wow, must have bought it at the start of the year. Excellent record. Just buy with confidence. Just excellent. At first, when I first got this record, I thought that it wasn't as engaging as it promised to be, but now I've played it a few times. I really like it. Got this out, Yehudi Menuhin and Ravi Shankar, East Meets West, Volume 2. I've got all 3 volumes of this, and I like them all. Just works beautifully. I mean, anything Ravi's on, to start with, is, a lot of it is really quite good. I mean, I don't think I've heard a bad Ravi Shankar record. I mean, you could argue that they sound all the same. They sound very similar to one another, but they're not bad. They're always kind of good. This is on Angel Classical label, and for good reason. It's a classical music record, really. It's fantastic. Yes, excellent record. I recommend all 3 volumes. I was talking about Brazilian music with Os Mutantes um, a must-have Brazilian record. Uh, Os Novos Baianos, uh, the new people from Baianese, is that what you call them? And the record is legendary, obviously. Acabou Chorare, Acabou Chorare, something like that, which is just delightful. Original press, Some Livre, 1973 or something like that. Samba, psychedelic samba. Yeah, that's right. Um, I'm finishing off with a couple of gems again. This was sent to me by Christopher127 Basket a while back, and I hadn't played it for a while, but it's brilliant. Piranha, Swiss. I think it's Swiss French. I think there's a French person in there as well. Band, kind of close in spirit to say Lad Free, or I don't know. It's got a kind of a sort of a jazz rock kind of undertone, although it's quite psychedelic as well. Really like this record. Really, thank you, Christoph, for sending me this. It's really excellent record. And finally, last but not least, is a superb record by British jazz composer Neal Ardley, Symphony of Amaranth, part of a trilogy that he did. It's got a great cast of British jazz players, from Norman Winston on vocals. There's Ivor Cutler reciting nonsensical poems on this, and Don Randall, Dick Hextall Smith, like a lot of really top quality players. This is a kind of a tribute to Gil Evans and Duke Ellington. I can't really explain this very well. Basically, it's British jazz, very symphonic. I recommend that you go and hear this yourself on YouTube. Do yourself a favor. This is fantastic. Kaleidoscope of Rainbows is also just really stunning. This I've got on Wah, but I've got an original of Kaleidoscope of Rainbows, which is a bit easier to find. Neal Ardley, 1972 on Regal's on the phone. Well, if you can find an original, give me a call. Anyway, there you go, VC. I hope you enjoyed. I wasn't too tedious for you. And yeah, that's me for this week. Please leave me some comments. I'd love to interact with you. That's why I do it, really. The interaction, sort of it's at the crux of all things. It's just you and I talking to each other, telling me how many of these records you like and why you like them, or what you bought because I showed you. It's great. Okay, until next time.